everybody, welcome to the show. My name is T and we are talking scary movies. I appreciate you tuning in for a brand new edition here. Keep in mind, every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. I'm always going to have some movie news, an opinion piece, or a new interview for you guys to check out. But throughout the week, I am releasing reviews on everything in the horror world of movies, TVs, books, games, whatever. You don't want to miss any of that. And the best way to stay on top of everything that I drop on my channel is to get subscribed to my link tree. And you can do that by going to linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed to my link tree, that'll give you access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, to your favorite podcasting platforms for the audio only versions of the show, to my Letterboxd page for my written reviews and movie rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for my short horror content including movie news and movie premieres, to my Twitch page where you can catch my horror gaming, which will include, starting next week, The Thing for PlayStation 2, and to my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy my 20% off discount anything in the Fangoria shop, including a yearly subscription to the physical magazine. Take advantage of all those things there, folks. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything dropping here on the channel. So what are we talking about tonight? Well, folks, over the last week I've been diving into some 80s monster movie goodness. I've been looking at things like Ghoulies, like Puppet Master, like Critters, and kind of talking about the highs and lows of all of those, because I've been looking into those franchises over the year, and I'm gonna be looking even more into those as the year keeps going on. So to cap things off here, at least for this week, I decided it was time to kind of get around to the one that we are doing my monthly giveaway here for, because all throughout the month of July, any of the videos that I put up, if you drop a comment on them, you have a chance to win a Tall Man Funko Pop. So, hence the Tall Man. Tonight, we are talking Phantasm. That is right, folks. The first of the Phantasm franchise is what we are getting into here tonight. I'm excited to get around to this one because honestly, I've kind of pushed it off for a bit for reasons that I'm excited to share with you here very, very shortly. But let's not waste any time. Let's jump right on into things. If you haven't seen the trailer for Phantasm before, Phantasm focuses on a pair of young brothers who find out that the residents of their small town are starting to die under strange circumstances, and that the local mortician might be the one to blame for all of the disappearance and the subsequent carnage. Now, folks, with Phantasm, this is one that as a kid, you know, I knew about the actual, like, the spheres and everything. Like, I had like nightmares about those because a few of my friends had told me about the Phantasm films and about what those spheres really do. And so, yeah, that freaked the hell out of me to be able to check it out. But then I remember also hearing that these things were about gnomes as well too, hooded gnomes that would show up. And so this was always a franchise that, like, I was interested in, but was never really going to check out, because it's also one that I heard got really, really silly as each increasing film came out, that it just got sillier and sillier and sillier. But yeah, I mean, it was time to go ahead and head back and check all these out here, which is kind of funny. Like, I've owned this franchise for years at this point. Like, literally all these films I've owned for a minute. I bought like the DVD collection a while back. I got the recent Blu-ray collection, which included this bad boy right here. I think, what, a year ago or so? It might have even been earlier this year now that I think about it. No, it was last year. It was definitely last year. But again, it wasn't a franchise that was screaming for me to go check it out, because when I had watched some of like the later entries, which are really what I remember, I just remember it just being so over the top and not really that scary. And the joke's on me, apparently, because the first Phantasm, y'all, is phenomenal. This is a fantastic movie. And considering what I've been watching over the last week, and I don't mean that in a negative way, unless we're talking Ghoulies, of course, but this is absolutely the best out of what I've been watching this past week for all these monster films. The fact that I think Phantasm is taken just a little bit more seriously than a lot of these other films that I've been checking out. You know, the idea itself is obviously a little silly when you think about it, that this mortician is actually a being from another planet, and what he's doing is taking the dead of Earth and turning them into basically slave labor for the planet that he comes from. That's the story behind Phantasm of what's going on. And that itself can seem a little silly, but the execution of it is taken so much seriously. It's not the first alien story out of these movies that we're talking, because Critters obviously is very, very much about alien beings coming to Earth and trying to eat anything that's in their pathway. So it's not like this is a foreign concept, but it plays it as much more of a horror concept than I feel Critters does, because Critters is very much like a sci-fi horror, whereas Phantasm seems very much just in that horror realm. Now, this has helped to have the tall man, Angus Scrimm, who is literally the bad guy of the franchise. He is like the trademark. He is what everybody knows besides the Sphere about Phantasm. And that is a very, very scary, daunting presence for sure. You know, this guy, hence the name, is incredibly tall, and learning that, you know, the filmmakers basically had him wear like a suit that was too small for him to make him seem even taller and lankier. It works for sure. You can definitely tell that suit seems so uncomfortable. But, you know, typically with a lot of the bad guys and the villains that we were getting back in the 80s, back in like the mid 80s or so, around that time, there was usually more of a fun element to them. Phantasm hit in 1979, so we weren't really doing that yet, and so the presence that the tall man has throughout the film is just terrifying, honestly. He is there to do terrible things. There is no jokes, there's no laughing with that. He is there to kill you and to turn you into slave labor, basically, which in itself is absolutely terrifying. Imagine you get killed and then you still get turned into a slave. What kind of shit is that, right? You know, and what makes like Phantasm so enduring, I think one of the reasons why it works out so well, like the way that Critters does too, is the fact that it's focused on a young protagonist. You know, Mike, who's played by Michael Baldwin, again, like him and his brother Jody have lost their parents recently, and they kind of rely on each other. And obviously Mike way more on Jody. He dotes on him. He always wants to be around him, follows him anywhere he goes. But Mike is still very much like our point of view for the film, and having a young protagonist makes it easy in horror really to like find yourself in everything that you're watching, because most of us are watching these films at a super, super young age. And so Phantasm definitely gets a leg up on films like Puppet Master and like Ghoulies, because when you go with the younger age protagonist, it's much easier to see yourself in that role and feel more for the danger that they're in. Not only that, but Mike's actually likable as well too. I think that's one thing that's kind of been the issue with a lot of these other franchises, is that the protagonists have not been that likable, and therefore it makes it hard to really, really care when they or the other people start getting killed or messed up in it. And Mike's honestly like very enduring. His older brother Jody is actually really enduring as well too. Like, you really do enjoy the relationship that the two of these guys have. Mike, even though yeah, he's a kid who's like just like trying to tag around Jody all the time, is still very capable for himself as well too. You know, he's a mechanic fixing up cars. He's driving the car numerous times. He can clearly take care of himself with a knife and a gun and everything. I think that setting up Mike to be this tough kid who very much is willing to confront like the horrors that are facing him and his brother, I think that's a very enduring trait to have in a horror film. And I think that Reggie, giving us a nice intro to him, you know, if you walk into this not knowing that they're sequels, Reggie can come off a little bit extra, a little bit annoying for sure. But once you've seen like the rest of the franchise, you understand the importance that Reggie has to it here. It's kind of weird to say that like this is Reggie's worst appearance in this franchise. Like, he's definitely not as enjoyable here in this first Phantasm as he is in all the other entries of this entire series. Just a very, very interesting point to see. What's even more interesting is that, and I can't name them right off the top of my head there, so, you know, don't blame me for that, but the fact that Jody is just as important to this story as Mike is. And so even though we're spending most of that point of view from Mike's perspective, Jody still plays a really, really important part because he's basically the guy that's like going to be doing most of the fighting, if you want to look at it that way. Because it's not like the tall man's going to actually fight Mike one-on-one. And even though Mike's fighting like all of the I don't know what the hell you want to call them, the dwarves at this point, the dead bodies that are getting turned into dwarves, he's doing all the fighting of that. It always seems like Jody's kind of doing some of the heavy lifting when we get to the second half of this story. And it's a scary one, honestly. Like, I think that's one thing that Phantasm has that a lot of these other films don't, is that they do set up a scary atmosphere for it. There's good jump scares in it as well, too. They do a good job of fooling you in certain aspects with like the blonde woman who's luring all these guys into their doom. I think that Phantasm does a really good job of actually having legitimate scares in there and setting the stage for it to be a spooky film, honestly. The score does an amazing job with that as well, too, because I think obviously in a lot of horror films, having that music is going to help set the right mood for what we're watching. And Phantasm has that in droves for sure. This one is definitely the standout of these like 80s monster movies for sure. And while it can be like just a tad bit convoluted, because I think the one thing to where Phantasm unfortunately kind of flounders is its ending, to where it doesn't make it exactly clear what the last 20 minutes, what exactly is going on in there. We don't really understand the ultimate fate of what happened to Jody. And this one film by itself doesn't do a good job of really explaining that. Like, are we watching a dream? Is the whole thing a dream? Was half of it a dream? And that's the big floundering here of Phantasm, is that for everything that it does right in this movie, it doesn't stick the landing the way that it does, the way that it should, and it just adds too many more questions that we really shouldn't have for a film like this, honestly. And I know we get the wonderful Phantasm 2 that follows this up, but by itself, again, that just kind of hurts the ending of this film and stops it from getting to the amazing heights that it really should. So, decide for yourself. This franchise is all on Peacock right now, so you can catch all the Phantasm movies over there and check that out for yourself. And I am curious here, tonight's question for your chance to win yourself a Tall Man Funko Pop. What do you think is actually more scarier? Is it the spheres? Like, are the spheres way more scarier than the Tall Man? Is the Tall Man scarier? Like, which one do you think is actually way more terrifying? Let me know in the comment section, folks. Again, they'll give you a chance to win a Tall Man Funko Pop. And hit that subscribe button, because we still got great reviews coming up for you this month on the show. But that's going to do it for me tonight. I appreciate you checking it out. As always, y'all, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared. Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So, if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there, get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022, and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription, or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW, or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies 2 subscription and one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years, and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to T Watch This Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever, it's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T.
We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.